I would like to thank you for joining us today for this Infoday. I am confident that the presentation you will hear will provide you with all the necessary information to submit proposals under the best possible conditions, bearing in mind that, and it's very important, that excellence is a key criterion in the evaluation process. So there will be two parts in this presentation, in this session. First part, Thomas will uh, share all the details with you, and in a second part, you will have the opportunity to ask questions. So, Thomas, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Jean-Christophe. Just a question regarding the presentation, because I'm not able to
share it.
To share it. So either you do it or
yes, Jacqueline is going to.
I will do. I'm just.
All right.
Okay, now share my screen. Your turn, Thomas.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jean-Christophe, once again. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tomasz Kalita. I work in National Center for Research and Development in Poland, and I'm a coordinator of Work Package 7 within Pianoforte partnership, which means I'm responsible for organization and management of open calls within the partnership. And today I will try to give you a brief presentation about general information, criteria, terms and conditions of the 2025 Pianoforte open call. The next one, please. So the agenda of the meeting is as follows. So first of all, we will talk a little bit about the rules of the call and the information where you can find the information. And then I will mention the timeline. Also, we'll remind you about the 2025 topics and the most important part regarding the application when we go through the general criteria, minimum consortium composition, eligible organizations, and the funding conditions. And at the end, there will be some part about evaluation and selection of the projects, as well as a summary and useful information. And as Jean-Christophe already mentioned, by the end of my presentation, there will be a Q&A session where you can ask all the questions you will have during the presentation. So let's start with the rules of the call. As you know, and I guess it's nothing new, so the most important source of the information is a call text, which is available on our Pianoforte partnership website under the Open Call 2025 tab. Together with the call text, you can find a guideline where are useful information regarding the process of the submission, the limits and the deadlines and so on. We also have two templates which you should use beforehand your application. So the proposal template and the financial Excel sheet. So the first one, it's available in a document, so in the doc format. So it means that you can use it before inserting information to the PT outline system. However, you don't need to do it. You can do it straight away in the system, or then first do it in the document and then copy it to the system. So as you prefer. But the financial Excel sheet, it's one of the most important to create the budget of the proposal. So we strongly encourage you to use the financial Excel sheet beforehand. So first do the calculation there, and then all the numbers you have in the Excel, just copy and paste to the system, and thanks to that, you will have you will be sure that there are no any mistakes or errors in the calculation, because you must remember that the system is not really calculating the introduced numbers, and it's not verifying them. It will happen then after the submission. So it's very important to make sure that all the numbers are correct. However, then those financial Excel sheet that they stay, you are not submitting it, because the only way to submit the application is the PT outline system. And the last template is a CV template, which I will tell you a little bit more later about. Very important thing is that we still might have some updates regarding the code documents, and if something like that will happen, we will inform you on the website. So it's very important to check from time to time if there are any news on our website regarding the code 2025. The next one, please. Here you can see the timeline of the call. So as you remember, we launched the call on the 28th February, and the application time is approximately 2 months, from February to the 30th April. After that, we will proceed with the eligibility check, and all eligible proposals will be sent to the evaluation, which will happen between May and September. In September, we are planning to organize the physical meeting for peer review panel meeting, and after that, we will be able to present the result of the call to participants. And we are planning, or we're expecting projects to start between November 2025 and February 2026. What is important, and the most important here for you, is to remember that the deadline for application is set for the 30th April 2025 at 3 p.m. Central European Summer Time. After the deadline, the system will not accept your application. The next one, please. 2025 topics. As you might know, there are 3 topics area for this year, and the first topic is investigating the effects of temporal and spatial variation in dose delivery on the risk of the health effect. Topic number 2, developing an integrated approach for risk assessment and evaluation from environmental exposure to ionizing radiation. And topic number 3, use of AI and big data techniques to improve emergency response, covering radiological impact assessment, decision support, data collection, response and recovery strategies, and public engagement, communication, and education. If you will have any questions regarding the scope of those topics, then, as I already mentioned, please feel free to ask those questions during the Q&A session. But what is important at this point is to remember that your proposal needs to address at least, well, not at least, only one call topic, and should consider, if it's appropriate, mentioned aspects on the right side. And those aspects are stakeholders, education and training, quality assurance, open access and infrastructure, social sciences and humanities, communication, and links with international initiatives. Those aspects are not obligatory. However, if you feel that that it's appropriate, they should be present in your proposal. The next one, please. So the general criteria for the call: all proposals must be there are joint proposals, and they must be written in English. We kindly ask you to use British English, and they must be submitted via PT outline system, as I already mentioned, no later than the 30th April 2025 at 3 p.m. Project proposals need to address one of the 3 call topics. The proposals should respect the appropriate format and limits on length, and describe it in a guideline for applicants and project description template, which are available on Pianoforte website. but also we basically edit those information to the system as well. And in most cases, regarding the project description, the system is checking if you are under the set limit. But you will see that in the system. Projects are implemented by transnational consortia in line with the call text, but I will describe you the minimum consortium size very soon. What is also important, I would kindly ask you to carefully read each box in the submission system to make sure that you're providing the data we really ask you, because in many cases it happened that that there are some typos or errors which basically making the whole process a bit more difficult for us during the eligibility check. The next one, please. Very big thing, I would say, it's the using of the organization, like using the proper organization name, because at the end we need to understand who is who in the proposal. So this year we kindly ask you to use the same name of the organization which you use under the registration for the PIC number. So whatever is under your PIC number, please use the same name in your application. Then it will help us to streamline the whole process. And as I mentioned, it will help us to understand who is who in the proposal. Please remember that your proposal cannot contain any external links, meaning if we're asking you for bibliography with the certain characters limit, it means you need to provide the full bibliography you want to provide under the limit. But you cannot just add, for example, the link to the some external source in the internet to open, because basically all those external links will be disregarded, and the experts who will be evaluating your proposal will be asked or basically instructed to not open them and to not consider them. So in this case, if instead of providing bibliography, you provide the link, it means that your application will be without bibliography, which then might have a big impact to the scoring of under the excellence criteria, for example. So please remember about that we only evaluate what you provided what you will provide in the application, and not what can be what can be found outside the application will be evaluated. Another important aspect is one CV per partner. So as you know, each partner have a principal investigator, and we ask always for the CV of the main principal investigator of each partner who is performing action in the proposal. So if there are 7 partners in the proposal, then you should provide 7 CVs. It can be more if you don't want to provide all 7 CVs, but please do not provide 10 CVs, because then we have the same problem that we need to inform. We need to verify those CVs, we need to check who is who, and then we need to ask expert to disregard respective ones. So please remember about that it must be 1 CV per partner, full stop. Projects are expected to start between November 2025 and January 2026. Projects are expected not to exceed 48 months duration. And the call is an open call, which means it's open to research partners from all over the world. However, please remember that there might be persons, groups, and entities that are subject to EU financial administrative sanctions, or, for example, there are excluded from participating because of some reason. So please keep it in mind, and to make sure that all your partners are eligible, please check those information in the Euratom work program. The next one, please. Minimum consortium composition. That's a very important aspect of your application, because basically because of that, your proposal is either eligible or ineligible. So to make sure that your consortium is eligible, you must fulfill all 5 points which are listed below. So your consortium must have at least 3 legal entities. And here, please remember that some subcontractors will not be counted towards minimum size of the consortium. So you still can have some subcontractors in your application. However, they won't be counted to as a consortium member. Each of the 3 must be established in different EU member state or Euratom program associated country. At the moment, the associated country, well, for Pianoforte, it's only Ukraine, because now there is a case of Switzerland. However, for Pianoforte, this country is only Ukraine. So basically must be either EU member state or Ukraine. All 3 legal entities mentioned before must be independent from each other. And very important, at least one of those consortium members participating in a proposal must be an external entity. And that is to say that the beneficiary or affiliated entity or associated partner that has never been involved in Pianoforte before. So you can check that in Annex A2 in the call text. Here also third parties such as in-kind contributors and the recipients of financial support to third parties can be counted as an external entity as long as they meet the financial conditions. And as I mentioned before, all eligible, all above the points should be fulfilled to consider the consortium eligible. It's also very important to remember that the third parties, here we mean by that in-kind contributors and financial and the recipients of the financial support to the third parties cannot implement action tasks independently, as is written in AGA. And it's just a reminder, but it happened already. So just to be sure nobody will make this mistake, remember that United Kingdom is not EU member state anymore, and they are also not associated to Euratom program, which means that they can participate in the Pianoforte, but under the conditions of associated partners, meaning they cannot receive any funding. And I think here that's it. So we can go to another slide, please. Thank you. The number of participants and their research contributions should be appropriate for the aims of the transnational research projects and reasonably balanced in terms of international participation. And by that, we mean that there is a minimum size of the consortium. However, there is no maximum. But we ask you to obviously think about and find the common sense between the size of the consortium and the planned research. So you need to find the right balance between a number of partners and what you want to do in the project, as well as their geographical balance as well should be met. Also, which is obvious, I think, but each consortium, but it must be mentioned, so each consortium must nominate the project coordinator amongst the project's principal investigators, which I mentioned before. And for administrative and practical reasons, we recommend that the coordinator will belong to a Pianoforte beneficiary organization or their affiliated entity. However, it is possible that the project coordinator will represent the associated partner, for example, in the project. So it's possible, however, it would be easier if that would be a person from beneficiary organization or affiliated entity. As you know, the project coordinator represents the consortium externally and towards the co-secretariats as well, the Pianoforte coordinator. And the project coordinator will be responsible for internal scientific management. Each project partner will be represented by one principal investigator only, and each principal investigator can submit only one proposal as project coordinator. So please remember that the project I mean, you as a project, as a principal investigator, you can be present in different projects submitted within this call. However, you can be present only once as a project coordinator. That's very important, and I know those questions were repeating each year. The next slide, please. Eligible organizations within 2025 call. So we have 4 groups of organizations. So in the first group, we have beneficiaries and basically beneficiaries of Pianoforte. The second group, there are affiliated entities, the old ones and the new ones. They're all listed in the Annex A1 in the call text. The third group, there are third parties, and basically they are divided between 3 subgroups. So we have a third parties giving in-kind contributions, either for free or against payment. We have third parties such as recipients of financial support to the third parties, and subcontractors. And the last group, this is a group of associated partners. So this is the group mainly for partners from, for example, United Kingdom, Norway, or Switzerland. However, it also might happen that some partner from the EU will become associated partner in, for example, in the situation when this partner will not receive or not willing to receive any funding, then you should register this partner such as associated partner in the PT outline system. And as you know, there is a way to integrate new participants to Pianoforte through the open call, and this is basically the way to integrate new affiliated entities to existing beneficiaries of the Pianoforte. So can I have next slide, please? And here, this it's briefly described how the new affiliated entities can become one. So in case the affiliated entities would like to become, if one of the entity would like to become affiliated entity to the beneficiary, there must be a link between this affiliated entity and the beneficiary. And in this case, the beneficiary linked to this participant shall communicate that to the call secretariat and all the appropriate, together with all appropriate documents necessary to prove the status of the affiliated entity. And it must happen before the deadline for submission, which was set for the 30th April 2025. As a next step, the call secretariat will forward those documents to the project, the Pianoforte coordinator, and the project, the coordinator will transfer those documents to the European Commission. Please remember that the decision regarding the status of the affiliated entity is taken by the European Commission independently, and not by the project coordinator or the call secretariat. And in case if an entity is considered as affiliated entity, it will be listed in Article 8 of the Pianoforte Grant Agreement. What is very important here is to remember that the status, that in case if the status of affiliated entity is rejected by the European Commission, the participant will be considered as another kind of participant with possible financial consequences attached. So that is very important to remember about that during while you applying, because in this kind of situation, it might completely change your proposal, because you need to remember that there are big differences between financial conditions between beneficiaries and affiliated entities and the other 3 groups. So that's very important to keep it in mind. The next slide, please. So here a little bit about the funding available for this call. So for 2025 Pianoforte call, there are 9 million euros available. We are expecting projects of total budget between 1 million euro up to 1.5 million euro, and it's a set requirement, which means that your project must fall into those into this value. All projects below or above the set limit will be automatically rejected. So please double check the numbers you introduce to the system, and then your final budget. Partners of the proposals which declare total cost equal to 0 will not be counted towards the minimum size of the consortium. And that's the case, for example, of beneficiaries or affiliated entities who are not participating directly in a research activity, but receiving funding for its affiliated entity. That's the case of beneficiaries, or third parties, that's the case of beneficiaries or affiliated entities. And in such case, the partner role in the system should be marked as management. As I will show you later in the system, or basically you can see by yourself as well, in the system there are two options for each partner. So you will have to choose for each partner their role in the proposal. So it will be either performing research or performing actions or management. And this management is reserved only for the partners who are not participating in the research. In this case, it would be either beneficiaries or affiliated entities. And all partners, except mentioned above beneficiaries, not declaring any cost, will be automatically rejected from the proposal. So that's very important to double check if all partners of your consortium declare cost. For example, if you have associated partner who is obviously who will not receive any funding, it's still important to introduce the declared cost of this partner, because thanks to that, we are able to measure the real value of the project. And as I mentioned before, we are aiming to have a project between 1 million euro up to 1.5 million euro. And as I basically mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, to calculate the right budget for the project, you should use the provided financial template, because the submission system does not verify introduced numbers like fully. It verifies some parts and then calculating some parts, but at the end, it's your responsibility to check if the introduced numbers are correct, because this is what we will be checking at the later stage during eligibility check. And as you know, there is no redress procedure for the eligibility check. So the next slide, please. Beneficiaries who are not participating themselves to the proposal, so not performing any research in the project, but receiving the funds for another entity, can claim management costs. So this is what I said before, and those costs should not exceed 0.5% more for the total duration of the project, with EC funding rate on the level of 63%. So that's a new rule comparing to the previous calls, because this year we set the rule and we set the limits for the management costs for beneficiaries in those affiliate entities. So that's very important to have it in mind as well. But if you use the financial Excel sheet, there are those information as well to remind you. Also, please remember to use subcontracting only in case if the other consortium member cannot do the task themselves. And subcontracting should be only used for specific tasks, which means that it should not be used to provide funding for entities that cannot become full members of the consortium. So please do not treat subcontracting as a backdoor to participate in the proposal, because that's not allowed. Cost of all participants, including associated partners and third parties, must be included in the total budget. Failure to comply with the established financial framework may result in ineligibility of the proposal. So this is what I already told you about the total budget and requested funding. For all financial matters, you can contact directly our colleagues from ASNR. And I think that's the best way to make sure that your planned budget for the proposal is correct before submitting it. So basically, you can use the Excel, and then you can consult it with my colleagues. And thanks to that, you will be assured that the proposal comply with all financial regulations of Pianoforte. The next slide, please. So now a little bit about evaluation and selection of the projects. So as I mentioned, right after the submission deadline, we will start the eligibility check. So the co-secretary will be checking the mentioned general criteria in the Pianoforte call text, and in case the proposal comply with all of them, we will send the proposal to the second stage of evaluation, meaning the merit-based evaluation. And this evaluation is divided between two stages. So the first stage is remote evaluation, and then a peer review panel meeting. Each proposal will be evaluated based on excellence, impact, and quality and efficiency of the implementation. There is a threshold of 3 points per each criterion and 10 points per project. The whole process of evaluation will be observed by independent observer who will write the report by the end of the whole process. And it's important to remember that there will be only one merit ranking list for all three topics. And also remember that the first three places, as always, will be secured for the best proposals out of each call topic. And the ranking list should compromise a minimum of 1 and maximum of 3 projects per topic in case of selection of the two other topics did not enable to select 2 projects. I know it's a bit complicated, but we'll be happy to explain you how it's gonna work in reality by the end of the presentation during the Q&A session. And what is important and worth to mention that this year we'll be able to fund between 3 to 6, maximum 6 projects. And as I already mentioned, there is no redress procedure. So basically, there is redress procedure, but it doesn't call into question the scientific or technical judgment of peer review panel meetings. So of course you can appeal, for example, if during the eligibility check your proposal become ineligible, and you will find out that some procedural aspects of the evaluation or eligibility check were wrong, then you can appeal, but you cannot appeal from the judgment of the peer review panel meeting, which is very important to remember. Okay, and the next slide, please. So here we have a summary and useful information. So as I mentioned at the beginning, the proposal is a joint proposal. So the proposal is submitted via submission system PT outline by the project coordinator, who only has access to the proposal. So the proposal must be in English, as I said before. We kindly ask you to use the British English during the application. Submission deadline is set for the 30th April 2025 at 3 p.m. Central European Summer Time. Please respect appropriate format and limits for the project description. Double check if your consortium is eligible and fulfill all mentioned requirements. Project should start between November 2025 and February 2026. The deadline to prove a legal link of, or basically a link of a new affiliated entities this request should be sent to the co-secretariat before the 30th of April 2025. The maximum duration of the project is 38 months. The total budget from the project must be between 1 million up to 1.5 million euro. And by the end, you can see the main contact points for during this application period. So the co-secretariat, but also financial department of colleagues from ASMR, and as I already highlighted, please check Pianoforte website quite often during this time, because all the updates regarding call documents or some call procedures will be available on the website. And I think that's it. I would like to show you the system. However, I'm not sure if I can do it, as I cannot share my screen. But the system is, what is important to know, that the system is already available, so you can register and you can see how it works. And the same about the call documents. They can be found on the website, they're available, you can use them. Regarding those financial Excel sheet, I would like to remind you and highlight that those information that you should, before submitting your proposal, you should check your Excel and the information you put to the system, and especially the you can download even at the beginning of the proposal, without submitting that, you can download the preview of your application, and if you scroll down in this preview document, you can see the final budgetary table for your proposal. So in case if you use the Excel sheet first, then you can compare those two documents if everything is correct. Because as I said, the system is quite simple in the way that it's not doing full verification of the numbers you introducing to the system. So just to be sure that you fall into those financial requirements of Pianoforte, please use the provided financial Excel and double check the introduced numbers before the submission deadline. And please do not wait until last minute to submit your application, because it might happen that in, I don't know, last minute, a lot of people will be willing to submit the application, and then in my case that the system will not work properly and you won't be able to submit those proposals. So please remember to not to wait until last minute, do it before, so then you will have you will be sure that your proposal was submitted correctly. And that's it from my side, and I think we can open the floor for Q&A session right now.
Thank you very much, Thomas, for this very clear presentation. As you said, we can start to answer questions. So if anybody has a question to ask, please raise your hand. There is a question about eligible costs. So I think it's written in the call text, but perhaps Pierre, if you could give a few details about the eligible costs.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pierre de Gorostarsou. I work with Firoza Mozeb at the financial department. I don't know exactly the precise question, but
what are the eligible costs?
Okay. As said Jean-Christophe, you should go in the call text where you've got some detail of what is eligible and what is not eligible as regard to the cost. Just remember that costs declared for associated partner are not eligible, but it is included in the total budget, not to respect. But I'm not sure I can say some more on this point.
Oh,
Everything
okay.
is in the call text.
Very good answer. It's important to read carefully the call text. Thomas, you want to say something?
Yeah, perhaps the person who asked this question maybe could be a bit more specific, then it would be easier for Pierre to answer exactly. But I would like to answer the question from the chat, because there was a question regarding the page limit for the proposal. So Yes, we did not set the page limit as a page, but each section of the proposal has a character limit, and you should follow this character limit. Here, the situation is quite easy because the system is verifying this character limit. So you are not able to submit proposal if you exceed the set limit. The system will inform you that there is an error and you need to correct that. So basically, I cannot tell you how many pages the proposal should have, but I can tell you how many characters each section should have, and definitely you won't be able to submit it if you exceed it. And basically this character limit is set for each section except, no, technically for each section, yeah, for each section of the project description. So you don't need to worry about that. That's something that you exceeded because the system will check it.
Okay, another question on the chat. Are figures and tables eligible in the proposal text? Thomas.
Yes, of course they are eligible. You have two boxes in the system when you can upload the additional documents such as graphs, tables, and other thing, whatever you think it should be there. And basically there is a page limit. So yeah, actually there is a page limit. It's written in each of the box what is the page limit, and you can upload whatever you feel that should support your application. And of course, in case if you upload I don't know, 3 pages instead of 2, as it's for example described in one of the box, then of course we will have to ask or instruct the evaluator to disregard this additional page. So make sure you're uploading the exact number of pages, and also it should have a proper, I mean, we didn't set the proper size of those things because it wouldn't be possible, obviously, to make characteristic for the graphs. However, like they shouldn't be super small, because we already saw it that some participants tried to put as many information as possible in this one page. So basically we had like 10 graphs in one page. So obviously it shouldn't be like that. Like it should be clear for evaluator to read it and to understand what is on the graph, instead of like using zoom of 300% to read what you provided on this page. So please keep it in mind as well.
Okay, there is a question about the status of Switzerland. Pierre, do you have the answer? Or
Yes.
Thomas, yeah, about Switzerland.
Thomas,
yeah.
if you want to answer, or we can.
I think I already, yes, well, I think I already mentioned that during the presentation that indeed the status of Switzerland has changed. However, Pianoforte was signed before in 2021, as I remember, and basically the rules apply from the time when the agreement was signed. So basically for Pianoforte, the only associated country to Euratom is Ukraine, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, but maybe Pierre has something more to say regarding that. Unless it's clear, I don't know.
I think it's clear as you explained it. Any more questions?
Someone from our legal team has answered also on the chat, so you will find the written version of this about Switzerland. Okay,
cool. There is another question I found in the chat regarding the budget. So someone asked if the total budget per project, which range from 1 million euro to 1.5 million euro, and if we are referring to the EU contribution. So no, this is a total budget of the project, including associated partners and so on. So this 1 million to 1.5 million, referring to the total budget of the project, not to the EU contribution.
Thank you, Thomas.
But Jacqueline answered that later. I haven't seen that, sorry.
There is a question about Boguslav. No, 9 million is not the total EC contribution. It's the total cost of the project. So the EC contribution will be 63% of 9 million, to be clear. And there is also, I don't understand the question by Johnny. For the project number 2, what are the accepted subjects to be presented? So I don't know what is the meaning of this question. You should refer to the call text and you should read it carefully. I don't think that there is a mention about a radioactive element in the call text. So it's up to you to decide what you want to do, taking into account the call text. Any more questions?
There is one more in the chat about the call text and FAQ. It is said that it is mentioned that new beneficiaries could be nominated. And the question is this rather hypothetical or is it foreseen to add new beneficiaries as part of this call? So, to my understanding, is what is the process to enlarge the actual set of beneficiaries by a new one?
I'm not sure that I understood the question, Jacqueline.
Pierre, did you get it? It's how we incorporate new entities with the status of beneficiary.
My understanding is just that theoretically it is possible to add new beneficiaries, but it must be more complicated than to add other status of participant. But theoretically, it is possible.
So if I may add, if we include a new beneficiary, the rule is that this beneficiary has to provide a letter from a minister or a government entity that nominates it as a beneficiary. So that's the rule. So beneficiary is nominated by a government body. Any more questions? Florence.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much.
We can't hear you.
Okay, still not?
Yeah, it's okay now.
It's okay. Okay. Hello, thank you very much for this clear presentation. I have a question regarding the industrial partners. Is it possible to affiliate them to a beneficiary or not? Is it possible to have an affiliated entities for an industrial partner?
That's I don't know if I have the question. I am going to start and then perhaps Pierre will complete my answer. From a theoretical point of view, I think that if it's possible to demonstrate that there is a link between this industrial partner and a beneficiary, probably it could become an affiliated entity. But we did not meet this case in the past, so I'm not sure if I'm right. Pierre, what do you think?
Nothing to add. I'm sorry, Florence. Probably, I didn't see any arguments, highlighted arguments in the annotated grant agreement saying that industrial partners could not be affiliated to a beneficiary. But I prefer to not to say mistakes.
Okay, so Florence, if that's the case, and if you want to just send me I can ask the question to the Commission.
Okay, thank you. If not, we could use another way, for example, for subcontract with an industrial. But it was a question from the CA team. Thank you. I will send to you an email.
Okay, and we will ask the Commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more
There is
questions?
another.
Yeah.
Yes, there is one more in the chat regarding the new affiliated entity. So if I understood the question, that was the case that, for example, you apply in last year, but your project wasn't selected, but the organization was approved as a new affiliated entity. And now, of course, it's not mentioned in the call text because the proposal wasn't successful, but it means that the approval is still valid and you don't need to resend us those documents. So if you receive the information from us, namely from the coordinator, that the organization was approved as the new affiliated entity last year or 2 years ago, but now it's not mentioned in the call text, it's still valid. It's still valid. You don't need to resubmit those documents.
Yes. Any more questions? So if there are no more questions, I want to thank everybody, and in particular Thomas for his very good presentation. I think we gave you important information. In case you have doubt, please do not hesitate to contact either Thomas or the Pianoforte finance team or coordination team. It's better to ask us questions before you submit if you have some doubt, just to avoid last-minute problems. So thank you very much to all of you for attending this Info Day, and we wish you a good work to prepare very good proposals. Thank you very much to all of you.
And one more thing,
sorry.
because like I did, no worries. Like I just did mention that before, but I was highlighting this financial Excel sheet because it differed from the one we had last year. So it also changed a bit in the system. So, you know, you cannot just copy paste what you have last year, and you need to double check because some things changed there. So that's why I highlighted that, and yeah, encourage you to do it beforehand, and yeah, definitely contact our colleagues from financial team to make sure everything is correct. Thank you.
Thank you to all of you. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.